How do you see the series? We got the Nuggets have been. I keep laughing because I look at my email and it's got kudos to the NBA. They've continued to try to provide Denver Nuggets media access during this downtime and this period of kind of delay. And so it's like combination of Zoom links and in-person press conferences where, okay, today it's Michael Malone talking and Kentavious Caldwell Pope and Aaron Gordon and all these different guys. They've just been spinning their wheels media-wise, trying to talk about a hypothetical matchup and reflect on their journey a little bit. But now they know who they're playing, and it's a Heat team that, again, regardless of what Jimmy and company have done to get here, if you're a Nuggets team that is trying to win the franchise's first championship, this is about as good an opponent as you're going to find. It's just all there is to it. So you could argue there's some pressure on them, and I think that's true. They have home court. They've been playing phenomenally at home. Nikola Jokic has been the best player in the playoffs. Matchup-wise, let's start there. How do you see it? It's going to be Jokic versus Bam Adebayo, who spends a lot of time with good reason feeling as if he does not get enough respect for being, he thinks he's the best defender in the NBA. That is how he wakes up in the morning, guards 5 positions, and is a force on that end. So that I think is a fascinating matchup. To me, it starts there and we can build it out from there. But how do you see it?
Yeah, he gets the big stage. I remember he was kind of a disappointment in the finals in the bubble.
Yep.
And he had a really good East Finals. And correct me if I'm wrong. Remember, didn't he enter the finals a little hobbled?
I gotta look that up.
I seem to remember he was banged up. Goran Dragic, who was really big for the Heat in the bubble, like East playoffs, had like plantar fasciitis or something with his foot. I just remember the Heat. By the time the Heat got there, they were no match really for the Lakers physically. But Bam's healthy this time around. I didn't think he had a particularly good East Finals. I do think
So Bam missed game 2. Sorry to interrupt. Goran missed game 2 with left shoulder injury for Bam, and Goran was a left plantar fascia. So you're right. Yeah, they
were banged up. Bam has been, I think, a disappointment offensively. Really not just these playoffs like this season. He just, he doesn't have a full, really like kind of like devastating number 2 score type package. But I think he's what would you say, a top 10 defender in the league? Probably. The versatility is what makes him so good, right? The fact that he can switch 1 through 5, as you mentioned, he can get out on the perimeter. He can do a lot of things. This will test him as like a one-on-one guy,
right,
against a guy that's bigger than him. I don't know exactly the size difference, but Jokic
has Bam is 6'9", 255. Jokic is we don't know the weight. I don't know if they're claiming, although he's slimmed down quite a bit.
Jokic is bigger than him, right?
Yeah, he's bigger.
So, this will test Bam in that sense. Like the Heat seem a little thin beyond Bam. Are we going to see old school Kevin Love down there, like kind of trying to bang a little bit? The Heat's rotation really shifted during this series, right? Like suddenly you're seeing Haywood Highsmith, Kevin Love's getting buried, Kyle Lowry's like, seeing his minutes kind of minimized a little bit more, although he was pretty good in Game 7. They're going to need a Caleb Martin type series that again, times 2. Gabe Vincent's been really good. They're going to need random contributions from random places, but they've got it to this point. So
they have, but you kind of alluded to it there. If I'm Eric Spoelstra, who you could argue is the absolute coaching wizard of these playoffs, I'm losing a little sleep over my roster in this matchup, because if we saw that Lakers series, that the Lakers defense was at its best when, I don't care if it's Rui Hachimura, Vanderbilt, whoever, put somebody else on Jokic and Anthony Davis could be help side free safety defender. And that is what made life tough on Jokic. The problem for the Heat is that guy does not exist. Bam has led them in these playoffs on the glass. To give you context, 9.2 boards so far per game for Bam. in terms of bigs, I mean, Jimmy Butler's second in rebounding on the Heat in the playoffs, Kevin Love third. Like they do not have any sort of size and length. You mentioned Haywood, like that is going to help. And I think that's an issue in a pretty major way because Jokic is going to have that size advantage you mentioned earlier over Bam, and all of those little, little half hooks, all those little twisty shimmies, all the stuff he can do. If you are letting him see the rim consistently, like he probably will be able to over Bam, I think that's pretty scary.
Yeah. But could have said the same about Giannis against the Heat. I mean, this it's difficult. Like it's hard if we just like sit here and like X's and O's it to construct
Sure.
like why the Heat should win this series. But game one might happen and Jimmy Butler's just like got a gritty 32 points and Gabe Vincent goes 5 of 9 from three. And they've got a couple rip steals on Jokic, and Jokic is showing a little frustration. And, Aaron Gordon maybe has like a disappearing game one, and like Jamal Murray has a 5 of 19 type game, and the Heat steal game one in Denver, right? Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like that's the type of script that I feel like needs to happen for the Heat. And like, sure, it might. Like, I'm kind of done doubting them in a sense.
And listen, to your point, they got through Philly last year in the playoffs in the second round. You know what I mean? Like it's not as if they haven't faced an elite all time type of big before.
This is where Spoelstra matters, right? It's going to be swarming, it's going to be scheme, it's going to be different help, like
Yeah,
the stuff
I mean
that
they
even
had
as
they had
NBA
PJ Tucker
insiders,
last time. I mean PJ Tucker would come in handy.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And maybe look, you might be right in game one, game two, like, hey, look, they just have no answer. But they're gonna do some quirky scheme stuff, I bet, that
Right.
that at least makes it interesting.